Sometimes life doesn't send you a memo. It doesn't knock politely and say, "Hey, I've got a lesson for you." No, it just throws you into chaos, lets you trip, and then whispers, "Figure it out." But here's the thing, hidden in those messy moments, in the heartbreaks, the failures, and even the quiet nights when no one's watching, that's where the real messages of life are waiting. This, right here, right now, might just be one of those messages you didn't know you needed. It's funny how the hardest days of our lives end up being the ones that teach us the most. Nobody wants pain, nobody signs up for disappointment, and yet it's those exact moments that carve character into our bones. Life has this strange sense of humor. It hands you the lesson after the test. You don't see the wisdom while you're in the middle of the storm. You just feel soaked, cold, and tired. But one day, you look back and realize that every storm was quietly preparing you for the sunshine that came after. Think about it. When everything's easy, you don't grow much. Comfort zones are cozy, but they don't teach you anything. Growth only happens when life decides to push you off balance. And sometimes, it doesn't just push, it shoves. Maybe you failed an exam you studied your heart out for, lost a job you thought you were made for, or watch something you built crumble right in front of you. In those moments, it's easy to think life's being cruel. But what if, instead, it's being kind in disguise? What if it's not ending your path? It's redirecting it. I once heard someone say that life's challenges are like sandpaper. They might scratch you, frustrate you, even hurt you, but in the end, they smooth out the rough edges. They make you shine. And I think that's true. You can't learn empathy without knowing what pain feels like. You can't appreciate success without first facing failure. You can't discover strength until life gives you a reason to use it. Every scar has a story, and every story has a purpose. When you're struggling, it's tempting to look for a shortcut out. We want the quick fix, the clean exit, the easy answer. But growth doesn't come from escaping discomfort. It comes from sitting with it, understanding it, and letting it shape you. Sometimes the message you need most isn't everything will be fine. Sometimes it's you're strong enough to handle it, even if it's not fine right now. If you think about it, every inspiring person you've ever looked up to, every innovator, teacher, leader, artist, they all share one thing in common. They didn't give up when life got hard. They listened to what those moments were trying to teach them. They didn't treat pain as punishment, they treated it as preparation. Here's something worth remembering: the hardest days don't define you, but how you respond to them does. It's not about pretending everything's okay. It's about knowing that someday it will be. When you get through something that once felt impossible, you carry a quiet kind of confidence that no book, no lecture, no success could ever teach. You realize you've already survived your worst days, and that's proof enough that you can handle what's next. So, the next time life feels like it's testing you, don't rush to escape it. Instead, ask yourself, what might this moment be teaching me that I can't learn any other way? Because sometimes the message you didn't know you needed is wrapped in pain, hidden in loss, disguised as failure. And only when you've lived through it do you finally understand it wasn't breaking you, it was building you. Sometimes we are our own worst critics. We measure our worth by the things we haven't done, the goals we haven't reached, and the people we think are doing it better. And somewhere along the way, we forget to stop and notice that we've actually come a long way. Life doesn't hand out progress reports, so it's easy to think we're failing when we're actually growing quietly, steadily, and beautifully behind the scenes. The truth is, you're doing better than you think you are. You really are. You might not have everything figured out, but no one does. You might not be where you want to be, but you're not where you used to be either, and that matters. The problem is we're so focused on the big picture, the degree, the promotion, the dream, that we overlook the tiny wins that got us here. We don't give ourselves credit for surviving the things that once scared us, for solving problems that once felt impossible, for still showing up on days we wanted to quit. We live in a world that celebrates the finish line, but nobody claps for the miles in between. Nobody sees the nights you stayed up working when no one believed in you. Nobody knows how much courage it took just to keep going. But you were there for every step of it, and you deserve to acknowledge that. Sometimes I think we confuse progress with perfection. We assume that unless we're constantly moving forward, we're not doing enough. But growth isn't always loud and visible. Sometimes it looks like choosing peace instead of proving yourself. Sometimes it's learning to rest instead of quit. Sometimes it's just waking up and deciding, okay, I'll try again today. That's progress, quiet, unglamorous, real progress. You might be comparing yourself to people who seem miles ahead, but remember, you're comparing your behind the scenes to their highlight reel. You see their best 5 minutes and assume they've got it all together. Truth is, they're probably just as lost as you are. Everyone's fighting battles you can't see. The difference is, some just hide it better. There's something powerful about realizing that doing your best, whatever that looks like today, is enough. Not when you achieve more, not when life gets easier, but right now. Because if you keep waiting to be enough, you'll never enjoy the moments that already prove you are. You're learning, you're adapting, you're surviving. That's not failure, that's life. Here's a little secret I've learned from people who've achieved great things. Most of them didn't feel ready when they started. They doubted themselves, they stumbled, they messed up. But they kept moving anyway. And looking back, that's what made the difference. Not confidence, but consistency. Not perfection, but persistence. So take a deep breath and give yourself a little credit. You may not have everything under control, but you've made it through every bad day you've ever had. That's 100%. That's a perfect record. You're still here, still learning, still growing, and that counts for something big. One day you'll look back and realize that all the things you worried about worked themselves out. All the effort you thought went unnoticed mattered deeply, and all the times you thought you were failing, you were actually building a life. You just couldn't see it yet. So here's the message you didn't know you needed today. You're doing better than you think you are. Keep going. You're not behind, you're becoming. It's strange how we grow up thinking failure is the end of the road. We treat it like a full stop, something final, something shameful. But in truth, failure is not the opposite of success. It's the soil success grows from. Every great story you've ever admired, every inventor, artist, athlete, or dreamer, they all have one thing in common. They failed and then they tried again and again. Until one day their persistence became someone else's inspiration. You can't really appreciate what success feels like until you've been on the other side of it. Failure teaches you humility, patience, and the kind of resilience that no classroom or motivational quote ever could. The most successful people in the world aren't the ones who avoided falling down. They're the ones who learned how to get up faster. They made peace with falling because they knew it meant they were moving. I remember once hearing someone say, "Brick walls are there for a reason, not to keep you out, but to show you how badly you want something." And I think that's the heart of it. When you fail, life is asking you, how much does this really matter to you? Are you willing to learn, to adjust, to try again when it hurts? Because that's where real character forms. Not in victory, but in recovery. The funny thing about failure is that it doesn't feel like a gift when you're in it. When you've messed up, when plans fall apart, when your dream job turns into a rejection email, it hurts. You feel small. You question your worth. But here's the beautiful irony. Those moments are building something inside you. They're teaching you lessons success never could. Success whispers, "You did it." Failure shouts, "Here's how to do it better next time." If you've ever built something, a project, a skill, a dream, you know the first version is almost always awful. That's just part of the process. The first draft of a book is messy. The first speech is shaky. The first attempt at anything feels uncomfortable. But you can't reach the masterpiece without first facing the mess. Failure isn't a detour. It's the main road. We tend to forget that behind every overnight success is a decade of trying, failing, adjusting, and trying again. We see the highlight reel, but not the behind the scenes chaos. But those messy middle chapters, they're where greatness is born. Every failure, every misstep, every setback, they're your teachers. They shape your thinking, sharpen your focus, and humble your ego. They're not there to stop you, they're there to prepare you. Here's what I've learned: if you're failing, it means you're trying something that matters. You're stretching yourself beyond the comfortable. You're doing what most people never will. You're risking. And that's brave, Because failure is just feedback. It's life's way of saying, not this way, try another. So the next time you fall short, don't call it defeat, call it data. Collect it, study it, use it. Because the difference between those who make it and those who don't is simple. The ones who make it never let failure have the final word. One day, when you look back, you won't remember every success, but you'll remember every time you chose to keep going when you could have given up. You'll remember the grit, the late nights, the almosts, and that's when it'll hit you. Those weren't failures, they were foundations. Every crack, every flaw, every fall, they built you. So don't fear failure. Respect it, learn from it. Because one day when success finally arrives, you'll recognize it not as something you stumbled upon, but as something you earned through every fall that didn't stop you. Somewhere along the way, in our race toward success, we forget that the real treasure isn't at the finish line. It's standing beside us along the way. The people who cheer us on when we're tired, who believe in us when we doubt ourselves, who show up when things fall apart. Those are the ones who make the journey worth it. You can chase all the dreams in the world, collect every shiny trophy, but if you forget the people who helped you get there, you've missed the point entirely. When we think of success, we often imagine standing on a stage alone under the spotlight. But here's the truth, no one truly stands there alone. Behind every person who made it are dozens of unseen hands, teachers who believed, friends who encouraged, mentors who guided, and family who sacrificed quietly in the background. We like to call it my success, but really it's our story. Think about it, the moments you remember most in life aren't the awards or promotions. It's the laughter at 2 a.m., the unexpected kindness, the shoulder you leaned on when things were rough. Success feels hollow when there's no one to share it with. The joy of achievement is multiplied when it's celebrated together. And the pain of failure is halved when someone's there to remind you that you'll be okay. We live in a world that tells us to be self-made, but truthfully, none of us are. We're community-made. We're shaped by the people who cross our paths, even the ones who challenge or disappoint us. Every person leaves fingerprints on who we become. Some push us to dream bigger. Some teach us patience. And some, through loss or distance, remind us how precious connection really is. It's easy to get caught up chasing the next milestone, thinking, I'll spend more time with people later, once I've made it. But here's the thing, later is a fragile promise. The people you love are part of your life story right now. Don't wait to appreciate them until they're gone. Send the message, make the call, give the compliment, because every small act of love adds up to a life that matters. You see, success without relationships is like a song without melody. It might still exist, but it won't move anyone, not even you. And one day when you look back, you won't measure your life by your accomplishments, but by the moments of connection, by the people who stood with you in silence when words weren't enough, by the laughter that carried you through dark days, by the hands that lifted you when you fell. And if you're lucky enough, you'll realize that the greatest gift you can ever give someone is your time, because time is the one thing we never get back. Sharing it is a way of saying, you matter to me. That's more valuable than any paycheck or award. So, here's the message you might not have realized you needed. Success isn't about what you achieve. It's about who you walk beside while achieving it. Appreciate them now. Thank them while you can. Because at the end of the day, when the applause fades and the lights go out, it's not the trophies that fill your heart. It's the people who were standing there smiling beside you all along. Every morning you wake up is another chance to start again. It sounds simple, almost cliché, but it's one of life's most profound truths. Because no matter how bad yesterday was, how many mistakes you made, how many things went wrong, the sun still rises, and with it comes the opportunity to rewrite the story. Life doesn't ask you to be perfect. It just keeps giving you chances to begin again. We tend to treat each day like a continuation of our regrets. We carry yesterday's mistakes into today like heavy luggage. We replay conversations we wish had gone differently. We mourn the time we think we've wasted. And we convince ourselves it's too late to change. But here's the secret, it's never too late. Every morning is life handing you a blank page. You can't erase the old chapters, but you can always start a new one. I've met so many people who think their best days are behind them. That because they missed one opportunity, made one mistake, or faced one failure, they've somehow ruined their story. But life doesn't work that way. You don't lose the right to dream just because you've fallen down a few times. If anything, the falls are what make your story worth telling. You see, starting over doesn't mean you failed. It means you were brave enough to keep going. It takes courage to wake up after disappointment and say, let's try again. It takes strength to smile when things still hurt. And it takes wisdom to understand that beginnings don't only happen once in life. They happen every time you choose hope over fear. Some mornings, the best you can do is get out of bed and breathe. And that's okay. That's enough. Because sometimes the smallest step in the right direction ends up being the biggest one of all. Life doesn't demand grand gestures, it celebrates persistence. Every time you rise, no matter how slow or unsteady, you're proving that resilience beats perfection every single time. And let's be honest, starting again isn't glamorous, it's messy, it's full of self-doubt, awkward moments, and uncomfortable growth. But that's the beauty of it. Every time you begin again, you learn a little more about who you are and what really matters. You stop chasing what looks good and you start chasing what feels right. The truth is, we spend so much time waiting for the right time to begin, for the schedule to clear, for the fear to fade, for the stars to align, that we forget the right time is now. The world doesn't wait for perfect timing. It rewards those who dare to start anyway. Think of life like a book you're still writing. Some chapters are joyful, others painful. Some feel like filler, others like turning points. But no chapter defines the entire story. What matters most is that you keep writing, that you keep turning the page, even when you're scared of what comes next. So, if today feels heavy, remember it's just one page. Tomorrow will give you another, and another, and another. You don't have to fix your whole life overnight. You just have to take one honest step forward. Because every day you wake up, every single one, is life whispering, try again. Not because you failed, but because you're still here. And as long as you're here, as long as your heart's still beating, you have the power to begin again. And that, my friend, might just be the message you didn't know you needed. So here's the thing about life. It's never really shouting at us. It whispers, it leaves small clues, quiet reminders, gentle nudges. The trouble is, we're often too busy chasing the big moments to notice them. We want fireworks, but life gives us candles. We expect signs, but life gives us choices. And maybe, just maybe, the message you didn't know you needed has been sitting quietly inside you all along, waiting for you to listen. You've learned by now that the hardest days are your best teachers, that you're doing better than you think, that failure isn't an ending, it's a beginning. You've learned that people matter more than trophies, and that every sunrise is a second chance disguised as routine. That's the kind of wisdom we spend decades searching for, even though it's been right here the whole time, hidden in laughter, loss, love, and trying again. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have a 5-year plan or a perfect RA Somme. You just have to show up with heart, with courage, with the willingness to learn. Because the truth is, life doesn't demand perfection from you. It just asks you to participate, to keep showing up, to keep trying, to keep listening for the messages that matter. So if you're hearing this today, maybe this is your message, the one you didn't know you needed. The reminder that you're still becoming, that you're still allowed to dream, that you're still capable of more than you realize. The reminder that it's okay to begin again, no matter how many times you've started before. And here's my wish for you. May you have the courage to fail boldly, to love deeply, to laugh loudly, and to keep walking even when the road disappears for a while. May you find people who see the best in you, even when you can't see it yourself. And when you finally meet success, whatever that looks like for you, may you remember the lessons that got you there. Because life isn't a race to the finish line. It's a collection of moments stitched together by meaning, courage, and connection. And when all is said and done, you'll realize the real message of it all was simple. You mattered. You made a difference. You lived fully. So, good luck. Not the kind you find in fortune cookies or Lucky Charms, but the kind that's built from persistence, kindness, and grit. Go live boldly. Go fail beautifully. Go love recklessly. Because the world doesn't just need another dreamer. It needs someone brave enough to act on their dreams. And maybe, just maybe, that someone is you.